right there.
Appreciate that. I thought it was this morning.
Who's that sitting next to you?
Is that okay?
Tell him he's not there. Another thing worse would be up there. The sound is.
May the 9th, 2011, right here. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for yesterday and celebrating our mothers and what they did to help us through our lives and teach us the things, and most of all, teach us about your Son, Jesus Christ. We praise Him for that, and we praise you for allowing your Son to come and take our debts and sins so that we would have hope for eternal life. We pray in His name. Amen. Approval of the April minutes. Got a motion by Mr. Steve. Second. Mr. Orr. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Financial report, Ms. Rita.
Okay, we have for you your standard grouping of reports, the balance sheet just showing where we are on the checking accounts and CDs that are in the bank and then the assets and such. Second, profit and loss showing the taxes we received last month and then the expenses for the month of April. The next page is just the amounts we paid to vendors in the prior month, in the month of April, and those itemized there. One thing I do want to call out down at the bottom of my name, I had a lot of problems with the post office box in Jackson. They mishandled the check that I sent in, locked the box, so I went down and charged it to my account and then realized they charged for a year and a half. So anyway, that's me. They refunded me, they wouldn't cut a check. So anyway, that's me crediting back to the account. It's a negative expense, which will be a deposit. So that's what that was, just in case you had any questions relative to that. For the floor lake expenses to date for this fiscal year. And then the next is the deposit detail for the month of April during the tax and the leasing income, and then any interest on CDs or checking. Final pages of the bills to be paid docket, and listing out those totaling $9,109.12. And if there are any questions, I'll certainly answer those. And the little reports and activity that I do have, of course.
Any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mayor Rogers,
Second.
second by Mayor Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Let's see. Eyes across. District engineer's report, I'm sorry,
I think each of you have a status report there. Kansas City Southern project along Old Brandon Road continues. They're making good progress there. They have made another request to put a drain system in that was not part of their original proposal. We have submitted that information to the Corps for their review. So we'll wait to get their review back before we bring that to you for approval. Also, the Kansas City Southern work at Conway Slough, at your your last meeting, they had finished that work, but they had not done the site restoration. They have since got in there and done that and did a very good job cleaning that up and straightening all that, so it's good. The telepath communications request for a crossing of the levee has been submitted to the court and approved. We'd like to ask you to approve that contingent upon Jerry and I would like to get them to move that crossing a little, just a little from where they actually have it laid out on the ground. We wanted to move it a little closer to another crossing, a water line crossing the city of Flowood has. We'd like to get those two crossings together. Just a very small move, so contingent on us working that out, we'd like to get you guys to approve that crossing.
You need a motion.
Yes.
So moved. Got a motion from Mr. Orr.
Second.
So, Mayor Rogers, any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carried. You got it? Anyone have any questions for Mr. Allen? Not, Mr. Noel?
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, we opened bids for our equipment rental. Annually, we rent equipment, a track over and those for 6 months at a time. We received 2 bids last week. Bucket Machinery bid both the excavator and the dozer. They were the low bid for the dozer at $5,880 a month. The second bid was from Scott Company, who did the excavator, and they were the low bid at $4,900 a month. I have provided Rita with all of the documentation to prove a publication for the bids, and would ask the board if they would to award both of those rentals, the dozer to Bucket Machinery and the excavator to Scott Company.
On this, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does the bucket excavator bid include the transport fee?
Yes, sir, it does. It does.
And how often do we transport this excavator?
Not very often, Mayor. We usually will bring it into a site, we'll work that site, we may be there a month or so, and then they'll, as we get to an area where we can't cross the road, or we'll have them pick it up, may take it from Flowood to Richland, or from Flowood over into Jackson, or vice versa. It's not very often that we move that piece of equipment. Our primary work this summer is going to be to install those check dams that we talked about last year in Prairie Branch. That area is over in Flowood, so we'll begin in that area building those check dams.
But if we moved it twice, if we moved it there and back 2 times, which is be $1,000, so that'll make it the bid actually higher than Puckett.
Puckett is charging $200 per haul. Okay.
So it's not included in the 5440.
No, sir, it's an additional amount.
Oh, okay.
It's an additional amount. It's not included. I'm sorry. It's an additional amount. It's $200 per haul
Okay.
for a bucket.
So both of them, just on our piece of paper, it's not listed what the,
No, and I'm sorry I didn't put that on there, Mayor.
but both of them charge.
Both of them are going to charge, yes, sir.
Where's Scott located? I know where Bucket's at.
555 South.
All right, what's the pleasure, board?
Motion to approve the low bidder.
Motion by Mayor Rogers,
Second.
second by Mayor Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried.
Mayor, that's all I have. I'd like to answer any questions the board might have.
Board have any questions? attorney's report, and before Keith gets started, I've asked him to update the total board on the meeting we had last week, me and myself and Keith, me, Gary Miller, and Keith Turner went to visit with the Corps of Engineers, had about an hour and 10 minute visit with them, and I'd asked him to update the board since I told him to take good notes and everything, so my memory's not that good anymore. So Keith, can you start with that?
Sure. Yeah, I have two items, the first being the core meeting. As the mayor said, we met with them last week, we met with the planning division and legal. There was 5 or 6 folks from the group there. The primary reason to go was to discuss the resolution of the board, wanting to pursue alternative methods to approach this project, specifically section 211. We discussed 211 with them, the difficulty of us being able to get federal financing for them and local financing, and why 211 seemed to be the best approach. I think initially there was some reluctance, of course, from the Corps, but in the end there was an understanding and acceptance that this was really the only way this project was going to be able to move forward for this board. We discussed the single lake option and the concept of phasing this, if we went to 211, to approach conducting economic and technical feasibility of the single lake first, and if that works, to continue on and complete the entire study under 211. We addressed some legal issues that came up. Henry Black, the chief counsel, was there, and he raised some legal issues that we needed to discuss that we're working on right now as far as getting resolved. They asked us to address those legal issues prior to entering into a 211 agreement, but that's going to take a little while for the Corps to develop a 211 agreement. They were going to pursue example 211 agreements from the other districts. In fact, Gary Walker with the Corps has a new involvement with the New Orleans district in planning, and they've done a 211 down there, so he's going to get that rolling along and get back with us on the specifics of what we need to do a 211 agreement. We talked about the remaining dollars in the budget, what was left to be able to apply that if we went to 211. This one number is a little bit in dispute. Originally, he told us there was $100,000 left after the development of the PNP. And I think from our last meeting with the Corps, they had told us there was going to be about $200,000 left. So we need to kind of sort that out with them before we get too deep into this. We also discussed our working with Pro Revision and having them take over the role in doing all this work, and told them that we needed to move things along as quickly as possible. That's how we want to use a 211 with the foundation doing and conducting the work for us. So we left it at that we were going to get back to them to resolve any legal issues that needed to be addressed, and they were going to get back to us to address the 211 agreement terms that need to be put in place. This would replace the PMP that they currently have proposed to us. It would be a brand new agreement with the Corps. So is there any questions? No? Okay. The other item I wanted to mention was WRDA. WRDA is going to be probably shelved for the rest of the year, but Senator Cochran has told us that there's a June 6th deadline, that if we want to have any requests in, we need to get it in by that date. And I'm recommending to the board that they consider 2 items. One is a funding request, and 2, a request that we modify the language of WRDA to address the funding as it currently stands as far as applying it to whatever project we go forward with. Design the language so it's a little bit more freer for us to apply that $132 million to whatever organization structure we work out with the Corps going forward. That second item I'd like to get a vote on the board for.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Socrates. Second. So, Mr. Orr. Any questions, discussion? What we're trying to do is tinker with the wording just a little bit to give it a little more freedom in wording that we could possibly use for the project other than.
What's, do we have, what section are we talking about? Do we have any idea what the word say and what is it replacing?
Currently, section 3104 states that there's the 133 million, is available to construct a project generally in accordance with the plan described in the Pearl River Watershed Mississippi Feasibility Main Study Report preliminary draft. And so it's designed to take off that draft. And because we're looking at possibly, additional study, additional draft language under 211, we're looking to make sure that we have sufficient flexibility there under that.
Okay, so what are we gonna replace it with? What are we gonna say? We're gonna take draft off?
Well, we would design it basically anything that the board settles on as far as for flood control project making, might throw out whatever we agree, whatever the board votes on, whatever's decided on, whatever's the best alternative out of the study, the end result, the preferred plan.
Okay, well, I guess, but we're gonna put some language forth to Senator Cochran's office to introduce in legislation to replace that language.
Yes, sir.
It'd be just helpful to know what the language that
Well, yeah,
we're gonna use, I mean, what we're gonna ask them to replace it with. I mean, I understand the concept, I understand what you, and I agree, I believe is what you're doing, not just going through a legislative session, blocking the language.
I appreciate that. I'd be glad to modify this language and provide it to the board before we obviously submit it. We have a June 6th deadline, which is, I think, before our next meeting, that I can submit it to the board for review and comment by going before we do it.
Okay, is there any other discussion prior to sending it to Washington? You gonna run it? Yes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried.
No, sir, that's it.
All right, we have number 8 on the agenda is the Pearl River Vision Foundation. I think Mr. Dallas Quinn has got this part.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, we informed the board last month and had a vote, a resolution for the Pearl River Vision Foundation Board to assist the levy board in its negotiation process, and some questions came up about who the board members of the foundation were. So today I'd like to introduce the members here of the Pearl River Vision Foundation. We did have our first board meeting last Wednesday, and took some official action, voted on chairman, vice chairman, and secretary treasurer. First, Joe Lauderdale is our chairman. Mr. Lauderdale, he currently owns and operates Sunbelt Ceiling Incorporated. Mr. Lauderdale has lived in Jackson with his family since 1971. He was born and raised in Vicksburg. He graduated from Mississippi State University in 1971 with a civil engineering degree. He started Sunbelt in 1982. It's located in downtown Jackson. Mr. Lauderdale has also served as a Hinds County supervisor from 1996 to 2000, representing District 1. He currently serves on the Metro Parkway Commission, and he's on the board of directors of the Hinds County Economic Authority. He also has been the secretary treasurer, is currently secretary treasurer of the Mississippi Road Builders Association, as well as serving on the Metro Crime Commission. Our vice chairman was also chosen last week, and which is Mr. Howard Catchings. Mr. Catchings attended Jackson State University, where he holds both a bachelor's and master's degree. He currently serves on the developmental board of directors there at Jackson State. He's been in the insurance business for 30 years. He's a general agent with Transamerica Life Insurance Company. He owns his own agency here in town, Catchings Insurance Agency. He's got a staff of over 24 people. He is actively in various civic and professional organizations as either a board member or a committee member. He serves as chairman of the board of the Metro Jackson Chamber of Commerce, Junior Achievement of Mississippi, and First American Bank. He's also received numerous awards, including Mississippi Citizens of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, Mississippi Insurance Hall of Fame, Jackson Insurance Hall of Fame, Mississippi Business Hall of Fame, and his agency has been named Minority Firm of the Year and Business and Industry Super Achiever. Mr. Catchings is actively involved in his church. He and his wife, the parents of 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Brett Hines, who was unable to make it today, is our secretary treasurer. Mr. Hines is vice president of Duckworth Realty and Development, and he manages the acquisitions and development of the business from new project identification and underwriting to negotiations, financing, and closing. In addition, Brett serves in the asset management role for several of the company's properties. Previously, Brett was acquisition analyst with Parkway Properties. Breck is a summa cum laude graduate from the University of Mississippi with degrees in banking and finance, real estate, and managerial finance. He is a licensed real estate broker in Mississippi and is an avid instrument rated pilot. He and his wife Lynn live in Jackson with 2 children. Next is Mr. Rodney Shamley, who's here today. Mr. Shamley founded the Shamley Company in 1979. It's a commercial real estate brokerage firm here in Flowood. Over the past 30 years, his company has grown and diversified into a connected family of companies and has been one of Mississippi's premier development and property management companies. The Shamley Company holds a diversified portfolio of commercial income-producing real estate. These assets and their related businesses combined provide employment to over 225 associates. Mr. Shamley was also recently named Flowood's Entrepreneur of the Year. Next, we have Mr. Joe Haney, who's also here today in the back. Mr. Haney is from right here in Pearl, graduate of Pearl High School, as well as Mississippi State University, where he got his Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. Mr. Haney has been a senior project manager for McGowan Working Partners for over 20 years, where he supervised field management, including production, regulatory permitting, and environmental remediation. Next, we have Mr. David Russell, who's also here today. Mr. Russell is a registered professional geologist, and he's also president of McGowan Working Partners, located here in Jackson. Mr. Russell has been working in the oil and gas industry for over 30 years. His experience has been in oil and gas land management, leasing, operations, acquisitions, geologic, environmental, and regulatory areas. Mr. Russell has prepared and supervised the regulatory permitting and environmental compliance for oil and gas company, which operates over 600 wells in 5 states. He's recognized as an expert in oil and gas properties and environmental remediation. Mr. Russell currently serves as a board member of the Mississippi Association of Landmen, the Plain Fletcher Center, and Young Life Inner City Jackson. Mr. Russell is a member of St. James Episcopal Church with his wife and 3 children, where he is head of the Youth Advisory Board. Next, also not present is Mr. Leroy Walker. Mr. Leroy Walker serves as the president of LTM Enterprises. He's the chairman, president, and CEO of LTM Enterprises, which is a franchisee of McDonald's restaurants. He's been a director of Trustmark Corporation, Trustmark National Bank since 2009. He's been a member of the advisory board of Energy Mississippi, also since 2009. He currently serves as chairman of the Tougaloo College Board of Trustees. He's also on the board of trustees of the Hinds County Economic Development Authority. He's a board member of Downtown Jackson Partners, and he's former chairman of the Metro Jackson Chamber of Commerce, as well as a founding member of 100 Black Men of Jackson. And finally, our legal counsel, Sam Bagley, as you'll see on a monthly basis. But Mr. Bagley is a graduate of Millsaps College and University of Mississippi School of Law. After college, he served as administrative assistant to Jackson Mayor Dale Danks and Governor William Winter. For over 10 years, he has represented the Two Lakes of Mississippi Foundation, which is now Program Vision Foundation, in its efforts to create a recreational flood control lake for the Jackson metro area. He has served as counsel on numerous public work bond issues for the city of Jackson and has advised the city and developers on numerous downtown development projects. He is on the boards of the Jackson Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Jackson Partners, and he served on the board of the Greater Belhaven Foundation. In 1995, he was recognized by the Mississippi Business Journal as one of the top 40 leaders in the state's business community. In 1997, he co-chaired the transition team for the Jackson Mayor Harley Johnson. He's a member of St. Peter's Cathedral Church and resides in the Belhaven Heights Historic District. So that is the program division board members, its officers, and its legal counsel.
I hope that's somebody you can work with.
You got these guys gonna tell, we're telling you what you're gonna do with your money, right?
We're real fortunate to have this group. Actually, I anticipate just getting into the engineering part of it, and I know everyone on this group, there's nothing about this plan that they can't form their own opinions about. It's a plan that's understandable to this group of people that are going to help us try to get this done for Jackson.
I agree, and I commend y'all for getting the quality people listed in, that's present in this room, and their achievements, past achievements. So this flood plan, the future flood plan of a single lake should be nothing for what they've done in the past to accomplish. Is there any other business?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on this list of outstanding members of the foundation, but I hope that I would also see some minority engineers involved in this project as well. And I don't happen to see any here listed. Will they be involved in a different capacity, or will you have any minority engineers working with you on this project?
Yes, yes. We've Blake's talked with SOL Engineering, and you talked with.
Yeah. Well, I've talked with Derek Stallings with SOL. We have talked about them coming on board to assist us also. So he is aware of that.
All right, now I think this is the board that's gonna run the 501c3, and then y'all gonna have a team. Y'all haven't got the complete team put together yet, do you?
Mr. Chairman, yes. Well, not completed all the way. I mean, there could be additions made, but we do anticipate using Mike Goff, Wildlife Technical Services, wildlife biologist. We've got Blake Mindrop Wages, Matthew Miller, and Pat Guest Consultants. We're going to use SOL Engineering as well, and then Vegas Law Firm. So it's sole consultants to the board. Those consultants have been identified, but we're not limited to just that particular group.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess one question that came up last time, this is the resolution you passed allows for us to enter into a specific agreement with the foundation.
Yes, we are having to clear some legal issues before we do that, but we're going to be, I guess, working on terms starting this week with the foundation on that agreement, as step one.
I know y'all don't like 30-minute meetings, but is there any other questions? I don't know. All right, I'll entertain a motion to,
Mr. Chairman,
oh,
on the business,
yes,
I'd just like to get some update on the Vicksburg situation, flooding over there. Is there anything that this levee board doing to be involved in that process in any way, or should we be involved in any way with what's going on over there? And how does it impact us in any way?
Mayor, as far as impacting us with floodwaters, that it doesn't pertain to us. We did get a request over the weekend from Commissioner of Agriculture, and we have helped him with some sandbag needs that they had for a plant on Saturday. We took care of that for them.
yeah, I saw Lester yesterday at Piccadilly, and he was telling me that you had gotten a bunch of bags up there.
And they'll be replacing those bags back to us, but we have helped them out to that degree. But as far as providing any type of labor forces, or any other work in kind, then we haven't provided anything. And they haven't been called on either.
Well, I think we certainly should make any assistance available, Mr. Chairman, that we might in that particular situation. I recall during the tornadoes in Yazoo City, that Mayor Rogers was the first person I saw on the ground out there working and volunteering. And I know that a lot of folk have come to our rescue as well when tragedy occurs. So it would be nice if we have some show of support in that area, if it's at all possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And agree completely.